Welcome to the Prophecy Club. I got a very powerful and important program for you today. The topics are Palestinian State, facial recognition, dollar fall, and censorship. Okay, first of all, we ask you to subscribe if you've not already, and we ask you to join the Prophecy Club. Why? So you can share in all the souls that God gives this ministry, which according to Him is thousands upon thousands. And you can do that the easy way by just taking your camera out, act like you're going to take a picture of that little QR code in the corner, and you see a yellow box form around that, touch the yellow box, and boom. You're there where you can give $9.90 a month or more. And Prophecy says we need to do this for Prophecy Club so that we're going to make it through some apparently pretty tough times ahead. Okay, first we're going to start with Palestinian State. If you want to know the future, surprisingly, you don't look at the newspapers, you don't turn on to Fox News, you watch Israel. So Israel is the apple of God's eye. It is God's chosen people. And Genesis 12:2 says, I will bless them that bless you and curse them that curse you. And God told Moses, Abraham, and Joshua, every place the sole of your feet lands, I'm going to give that land to you. And according to the scriptures, that's from the Palestinian State. Well, excuse me, that's from the Nile all the way over to the Euphrates River. And the Palestinian State is not part of it. Okay, first of all, a brief refresher. Now, I've covered this many times, so if you have not seen this, pause and you can read it. But essentially what this says is, and I believe it's talking about the current war in Israel right now. At the end of this war, I believe that the prophecies say that Israel is going to see that it can't defeat its enemies. Well, what makes us think that Israel will defeat their enemies? Because I should probably look up the verse, but it's like Ezekiel 38:4 or 6 or something like that. And it says, when Israel dwells safely, that's when the Russians and all the world comes down to attack Israel. Well, Israel is not dwelling safely now. So that has to be a major, major war, and sad to say, a slaughter of a lot of Muslims in order to give them that safety. Well, at the conclusion of this war, what the prophecies say is that Israel's going to see that they can't have peace until they get rid of all the Muslim neighbors around them, and that is not going to be an easy feat. So they will give, that's what it says right here, Israel will give the Palestinians a state. The Palestinian State will be a temporary measure to allow the Israelis time to do two things. One is to build a military. Oil will be discovered in Israel. I think the oil is what gives them the money to build their military, and it makes the Jews willing to fight for the land. Then Israel is attacked again. It says that here in this one right here. Israel is attacked. America sends troops. That's the next big war. And that's when this plays in, where Israel and America will go against most of the rest of the Arab world. And apparently, that's when Israel pulls out a secret weapon. Bible says that though the whole world comes down to attack Israel, they will not be successful. No one can defeat Israel. Though the whole world, Israel will never lose another battle. Now, what this means is that, yes, oil is going to be discovered, but there's going to be a big war in the Middle East that gives Israel all of their land back from the Euphrates all the way back over to the Nile. But the key thing to watch for is the Palestinian State, and that's confirmed again by Chris Reed. Chris Reed says he was told that there will be an Israeli-Palestinian two-state solution reached. Now, that's the point. That's really, really, really big, because we have two people saying the same thing. All right, now, here's the big news. Comes from Breitbart report. Biden considering unilateral recognition of Palestinian State. U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken has reportedly asked the State Department to review options for a unilateral recognition of Palestinian State at the end of the war, at the end of the war, at the end of the war. That's what I just said. At the end of the war between Hamas and Israel. A major break from past U.S. policy and from Israel. For decades, U.S. policy has been to oppose the recognition of Palestinian as a state. Well, good. But, unfortunately, evil is in control of our nation, as you know. And Palestinian statehood should be only achieved through a direct negotiation between Israel and Palestinian Authority. Yes, I agree, that's good. But the warning is that if America splits Israel, God is going to split America. So thanks to the new evil regime in charge today, that's exactly what they're planning on doing. This story, almost certainly leaked delivery from the State Department, comes as Blinken prepares to visit Israel for the 5th time since the Hamas terror attack of October 7th. Though Blinken has expressed sympathy for the Israeli people, right, he has also tried to restrict Israel's military response. Okay, Stan, what do you think? I think that they need to tell him to get out. And that's what I believe God is going to do. He's going to clean house. It would be in all of anyone that's not Jewish or that's not supposed to be in Israel. I'll say it that way. Right now would be a really good time if they left, because God's about to clean house. He's about to clean Israel. Anyway, and has lately become adamant about forcing Israel to accept a Palestinian state. Did you catch that? Look. Here, let me go to it. I'll come back to that. Let me get to what I want to show you here. Right there. Okay. It was April 15th of 2002. Okay, that was 22 years ago when Leslie was given this prophecy. So here we are 22 years later, and it's saying that America is going to split Israel, just like, 12 or 14 prophets have told them, don't do it. Anyway, so the military response has asked, the Americans have asked them to pull back the military response. In other words, quit killing all the poor Palestinians. And has already become adamant about forcing Israel to accept a Palestinian state, which would be a major win for Hamas, which would achieve that outcome after the mass murder of civilians, and it would destroy and kill millions of Americans. Blinken has even blamed Israelis for being transigent, however you say that word, on a Palestinian state. I meant to look that up. The truth is that nearly two-thirds of the Israelis have supported such a state in 2012, but now nearly two-thirds of Israelis oppose a Palestinian state. So both the leadership and the people of Israel do not want a Palestinian state. So who is it that is twisting Israel's arm? And the answer is America. So America splits Israel, God splits America, from the New Madrid Fault down to the Gulf of Mexico, and possibly much, much worse. The Biden administration pursued a Palestinian state since before October 7th, even reportedly blocking a Saudi-Israeli peace deal. Okay, so there's been people that have tried to put this thing together in a win-win situation. But no, Biden and his regime has to come along, twist arms, and make them give the Palestinians a state. Now, why would the devil want Israel to give the Palestinians a state? Why would the devil want to force Israel to give part of their land to their enemies? That would be like, okay, say right in the middle of Texas, we were to give Cuba or Nicaragua or North Korea, say a third of Texas, right in the middle of Texas. Would that be a problem? Of course. It's like, well, I'll tell you what, we're going to force you to give one of, let's say you have a four-bedroom house. We're going to force you to give one of those bedrooms to a guy that we're just letting out on his own recognizance that just killed somebody. As a matter of fact, we think he's probably killed 35 people. He's going to have to be in your house. That's kind of what America is forcing Israel to do. God's not happy with that. You see, the land really doesn't belong to Israel. The Bible says it's God's land. He put his name there. His son's blood dripped on the ground there. It's his land, and he don't want it given to the Palestinians. He does not want it given to people who worship another god, period. Let's go on. So even reportedly blocking a Saudi-Israeli peace deal, because the administration's insistence that it include a Palestinian state, whether the Palestinians are ready for it or not. In other words, Israel doesn't want it. Palestinians don't want it. It's the Biden administration wants it. That's destroying our nation. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has adamantly opposed a Palestinian state as the outcome of the war, and he has begun to rise again in some polls as Israelis rally behind a leader seen as the only Israeli politician who can stand up against the USA. Okay, so it should not be that the leader of Israel, supposedly our best ally on the planet, should have to fight against our nation. But everything our current administration is doing is bad for our nation. I think they're communists. I think that they are trying to destroy America, and I believe God is allowing that because so many people have turned away from Jesus. All right, let's get to our next topic, facial recognition. You may be saying, so what's so big about facial recognition? The whole objective is to be able to track, monitor, and find every beating heart on the planet, to force them to take the mark of the beast. Remember one of Coverstone's dreams, he said they had to run out of the cornfield and quickly cover up with a blanket because they were searching for them using their heat signatures and sound. They had to be really, really quiet. That's what they're doing. Now, if we're in the tribulation, and I don't know that we are yet, but if we are, then we're only a couple of years away from the mark of the beast and from the Antichrist sitting on the throne. I mean, if that's possible. If we're not, we're still very, very close. So facial recognition is a really, really big part of finding you and me, so that they can make us make a decision. Now, I already made my decision. Sometimes I think they come up with a mark of the beast. I'll just drive up and say, Leah, where are you cutting heads off? Because I ain't taking your mark. We're going to settle that real quick. That ain't going to happen. Anyway, Revelation 13:14. This is another really big, important thing. And he deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast. I think it's a clone. I think it is flesh that is not in the image of God. I think it's hooked up to the AI, artificial intelligence, and to the computers that are infinitely faster than anything mankind has ever made. So the article says, Biden regime expanding intrusive facial recognition scans to all 430 federalized airports. Biden regime expanding intrusive facial recognition. Do we want facial recognition? Do we want to be tracked and monitored? No. Do the Israelis want to have to give part of their land to the Palestinians, their enemies? No. But who's forcing it? Biden, or another way to say the devil. So I guess you could have Biden, devil intertwined. Biden regime expanding intrusive facial recognition for all 430 federalized airports, even though a bill has been introduced calling for the government to end the invasive policy. In other words, there's not enough good in America to fight off the bad. So right now, the bad is winning on every front. The latest CAT scanners, known as CAT-2 units, incorporate facial recognition technology by capturing real-time pictures of travelers and comparing them to the most recent photo IDs, probably the driver's license, maybe passport. These units have been deployed at nearly 30 airports, so that's not enough. We got to get all of them. Meaning, if you want to get on a plane and you watch, or a bus, or if you want to buy or sell, you're going to have to give them your face and your fingerprints and your voice print, because one of these days, I'm telling you right now, your cell phone is not your friend. It's the friend of the devil. It's the friend of the mark of the beast. I think it's alien technology. I think it was just like the computer chip and the computers. I think it was all given to us by alien technology. Why? So that one day, no man can buy or sell, save he had the mark of the name of the beast or the number of his name. Let's go on. As of now, participation of facial recognition screening is supposedly optional. Oh, yeah, right. And by the way, you don't have to pay your taxes to the IRS either. Yeah, well, just try that. You'll see how it works. You might do some research on how many people are in jail because they didn't. All right. But it goes on to say, they're not given an option. They say they delete the pictures soon after they're taken. Yeah, right. But what they didn't say is, It's also forwarded over to Homeland Security and all the other bad guys. I'm not saying everybody in Homeland Security is bad, but I'm saying if there's a bad guy out there, wants your picture, they're probably going to get it. That's the point. Introduced legislation November 2023 to ban TSA from using facial recognition, and how'd that go? See, because America has chosen the way of the devil, more than 50% of the people have chosen the way of the devil. And by the way, when you're born, you don't have to do anything. You're already born going to the devil. It's not until you choose Jesus, till you ask him to forgive your sins, that you jump to the other side. So if you don't do anything, you're naturally going to the devil. So what the prophecies say is that over 50% of America is now in the court of the devil. Consequently, Jesus says, okay, you're supposed to be my light on the hill. You're supposed to be the Christian nation that started you to be. So since you've turned to the other side, let me just show you what it is to be ruled by the other side. And then he gives them the Antichrist, the mark of the beast, and all that sort of stuff. The senators say their bill would prevent the agency from further exploiting technology and storing travelers' biodata. What's biodata? It's fingerprints, voice print, face print, so that they can prove biologically who you are. And probably they're going to get our DNA too. Wouldn't surprise me a bit. The Biden regime could care less what people think or the representatives think about our globalist beast system policies. The senators stressed that most Americans are unaware that they have the right to opt out of the facial screenings. Yeah. And we have the right to opt out of paying the IRS, too. And there's a whole lot of things we have the right to opt out of. Well, here, this Michelle Bachmann ran for president, and she says, I went to the airport. They told me to give them the card. They put it into the card reader machine. Next thing she says, she hears them say, look into the camera before I could respond. Boom. They took my picture, matched it to my ID. There was no choice. The TSA is allowing illegal aliens to board airplanes without showing any ID. No ID. Get on an airplane, and they're paying for them to go there, and they're giving them a data card, or I guess you call it a bank card, with $5,000, the word is, $5,000 on it. Now, they're also giving them a cell phone. My guess is that one of these days that cell phone's going to ring. They're going to say, if you want to stay in America, you've got to go to this training. They show up at the training, probably behind some barbed wire fence, and they're trained how to blow up bridges and dams, how to blow up refineries, how to blow up electrical stations and things like that. In other words, if the bad people in America weren't enough to destroy it, now we brought in a bunch of bad people from around the globe to help destroy this Christian nation. So, the devil's in charge of our nation, my brothers and sisters. What good can we expect? This is part of the two America system that is taking shape in our country. One set of standards applies to us, especially the Christians, and the other one to the devil's bunch. And they let the devil's bunch get by with anything they want. It goes on to say the United States is a democracy. It's a threat to our democracy. Well, let me just say, we are not a democracy. The Bible says, to the republic for which it stands. Democracy is whatever the people vote for. A republic is where a nation runs its nation based upon a set of laws. That's a republic. We're not a democracy. We're getting pretty close to it, I might add. We're a republic. But it won't be long before this face scanning technology is required to get in hotels, casinos, casting votes, hotel or hospital. These technocrats envision an Orwellian world of total information awareness, where they have the right to scoop up our personal information while performing literally every daily function, tracking, monitoring, finding our location. I mean, right now, if you have a cell phone, they can find you within 3 feet, any place on the globe. This is so they can assess whether you're staying within your soon-to-be allotted carbon footprint, or once the central bank digital currencies come out, they're going to simply put a freeze on your bank account if you're buying things they don't want you to have, like maybe ammunition or anything that they're totally control. And if they have a complaint, you'll have to lodge it with them. The whole system will be run by non-human artificial intelligence or the image of the beast. Probably what we're talking about is really the mark of the beast and the image of the beast all rolled together in a wonderful tracking system. The TSA is planning a big digital ID push in 2024. The U.S. leading transportation security organization is taking significant steps toward more digital future. That's what we want. We want to be tracked and monitored so that, well, if we have an emergency, they can find us very fast. Or if we haven't taken the mark of the beast, they can find us very fast. I'm telling you that the angel that spoke to Dimitri in so many words said, most people alive today will have the opportunity to deny Jesus. Even Revelation 18 says, and all that dwell upon the earth shall worship the beast, whose names are not written in the Lamb's book of life from the foundation of the world. Meaning, by the time the Antichrist shows his face on earth, if they aren't already saved, if their name is not already in the book of life, it's probably not going to be. Remember where it says, and the third angel had a pair of balance in his hand, and heard a voice from the four horns of the golden altar say, a measure of wheat for a penny, 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. I now believe, have understanding on that, a measure of wheat, that's the people that are washed in the blood of Jesus. That's the Gentiles. 3 measures of barley, the barley is the Jews. So what it's saying is during the last 3.5 years of the tribulation, about 1/4 of the people saved will be Gentiles. 3/4 will be Jews. God is going to turn his attention from the Gentiles over to the Jews. So you can expect all kinds of tracking and monitoring, my brothers and sisters. Get ready for it. Set your jaw. It's coming. The plan is that by the end of 2024, many of their operational objectives will encompass a digital identity component, a move that suggests an enduring commitment towards streamlining traveler experiences with technology, even though it undermines privacy. In a 4-part action plan released by the TSA, the agency plans to extend its mobile driver's license and facial recognition to all of the airports and probably all the bus terminals. And then a few months later, it's going to be at all the grocery stores, all the gas stations. So you won't be able to buy or sell, say you had the mark of the name of the beast and the number of his name. This signifies that travelers will have 6 options, including mobile devices, at their disposal for digital identification. Oh yes, we want to have lots of digital identification. We're just sick and tired of people robbing us and stealing from us, and see how that fits in. The service allows the agency deeper access into data information about an individual and their lives, some of which go beyond what travelers believe they have access to. Oh, surely not. They're going to know everything. Haven't talked about Joseph Kitchen in a long time now, so let me talk about it for a second. So about 3 years ago, I got this video of this woman talking in a church, talking about how she makes her own bread, where she actually grinds her own wheat berries, makes her own flour, makes that into whole wheat bread. I thought, okay, all right, fine, I'll try it. So I ordered a grinder, I ordered some wheat berries, and I made 2 loaves. And Leslie and I liked it. And I said, I think I'm going to keep making this. She says, well, if you're going to keep making it, you better order a bread machine because I'm not kneading dough. So I ordered a bread machine. And I started making wheat bread, and I didn't think anything was going to come of it, but God began to speak here to me. What he began to show me is wheat. Now listen, this is real important. Wheat is God's famine food. Not corn, not some kind of prepackaged, something where you boil water and add it. Okay, there's all kinds of things out there that people are selling for long-term storage food. But you remember the story, the Pharaoh had 2 dreams, actually. And the first part of the dream, I'm not going to go into all details, but first part of the dream said that there's 7 years of plenty that would precede 7 years of famine. Long story short, what they did was store 20% during the 7 years of plenty. And that was wheat, and it fed the world. Why wheat? Well, why do you think the Bible refers to us as wheat? I think it's because wheat is the primary thing that God intended for us to eat. Not only that, but as long as it's in berry form, put it in. Now, if you get it in bags, and that's the way most of it comes, that's only good for about a year. Bag breaks, mice eat it, rats eat it, all kinds of problems. But if you get it from Joseph's Kitchen, first of all, there's three things. One is it doesn't come in a paper bag, it comes in a plastic pail, which of course resists mice and things like that. But they also nitrogen infuse it, so that gets out the oxygen. And while we can't guarantee it lasts 25 years, it probably does. Also, it's the right wheat, because there's thousands of varieties of wheat. If you don't get the right variety of wheat, it won't make bread. Sure, you can grind it and you can put in all the ingredients, but it comes out a brick. In other words, it doesn't rise if it's not the right kind of wheat. So I recommend you go to josephskitchen.com. josephskitchen.com. That's why we call it Joseph's Kitchen, because this is long-term famine storage. So here's another thing. Most of your long-term storage food, you're talking $9,000, $10,000 to feed one person for a year. Let me say it again. Around $9,000 or $10,000 to feed one person for 1 year. Joseph's Kitchen can show you how to do it for about $1,000, one person, 1 year. I'm going to say it again. About $1,000 to feed one person for 1 year. What do I do, Stan? I don't know anything about it. Okay, I'm going to show you. Here's what you do. josephskitchen.com, the website look a lot like this. Click here. Start with step 1. It's a machine package. This is the grinder where you put the wheat in and it grinds. It takes about 30 seconds. Now you have flour. You put that into the bread machine along with 5 other ingredients. Don't have to do anything else. Push a button. 2 hours and 20 minutes later, you have a nice, hot, steaming loaf of wonderful, delicious tasting and wholesome bread. Now, if there's any one thing, and there's not one thing, but if there was any one thing that a person could eat all throughout their life and be healthy, probably, in my opinion, the closest thing to that would be wheat. That's why Jesus calls us the wheat as opposed to the tares. Next thing is you're going to have to decide how much food you want to get. Step 2 is the supplies. Do you want to get food for one person for a year, 2 people for a year, 4 people for a year? I suggest you get more than what you need, because you're going to have other people, when they find out you got food knocking on your door, you want to have enough food. And probably you're going to include some Bible studies. Now, there's also recipes. Matter of fact, they have videos up there. This video here, matter of fact, I think I'm even in this video, but this is my daughter. She's the one that owns and runs Joseph's Kitchen now. And I interview her. We talk about how it all started, blah, blah, blah. This particular video shows you the benefits of having homemade bread. And this video here shows you exactly how to make the bread. Matter of fact, I think there's a video even up on the Prophecy Club platform right here on wherever you're watching this that shows you exactly. I've made, I don't know, over 180 loaves, maybe getting 200, possible 200. Matter of fact, I had it for breakfast, and I took Leslie for lunch. I did it for lunch today, unusual. Normally, it's my breakfast, it's my lunch. And I always eat one slice before we go play racquetball because it gives me strength and I can run like the wind. I suggest you spend about $1,000 per person. You go to josephskitchen.com and get yourself some long-term food. If you want to get gold or silver, we're going to send you to 800-200-GOLD or prophecyclubgold.com. If you want your car to start, if you want your computers to start after some kind of nuclear event, that's the device to get. And if you go to empshield.com and use the promo code PROPHECY, get your $50 discount and help your Prophecy Club.